Here we go with podcast number 12. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to these and write in. And this podcast and the ones kind of after this are going to go along the lines of addressing all the emails that I've had for people writing in and having some requests. And the number one thing that I've had requested is, what can I do off the bike to help me on the track? You know, what can I do? I'm doing straight rides. I'm doing XR100s. I do go-karting, whatever it may be. What can I do when I do those activities that helps me on the track and helps shortcut some stuff? So we're going to address that today, and I'll get into that quite a bit here in a minute. But I wanted to back up a little bit. And I want to talk about the series that we just had, which was the Order of the Sport and the Fundamentals, because one, I stuck with my plan and I finished that up. And I did that because we're going to keep referring back to that, because that's how you ride a motorcycle. Those are the things. Those are the actual things that tell us and show us and the techniques for riding. So we finished that series up, and I hope everybody got to listen to all those. So off the bike training, when I started researching this and started thinking about it, what I did is I broke it up into three sections, and I broke it up into three sections because I want to make it as simple as possible, and they all work within the same thing, but they're all doing different things. So the first part of this, and it's three different sections. The first one is other types of motorcycle riding, and what that boils down to is anything that is essentially motorsports related, anything that has got wheels and tires. Anytime we ride something like that or drive something like that, we'll put it in there. And then the second section is fitness. I'm going to do a pretty comprehensive podcast series on fitness. And then the last one is our daily life and our lifestyle. And what that one boils down to is how we do anything is how we do everything. And that's a great saying that Phil Horowitz, one of my instructors, it really puts in his life, and I put it in my life as well. So we'll get into that one as well. But today we're going to talk about other types of motorcycle riding. So let's just dive right into it. And what this boils down to is having literally having a plan for your ride. And when we're doing some of these other rides, they end up getting to be a lot longer, and they're not as focused as our track riding. It's not a 20-minute session. It's not a 6-lap sprint race. It's not a practice session. And so they have a tendency to be the 2, 3, 4, even all-day rides. So we want to have one overlying or encompassing thought for that ride. But what's even more important on that ride is getting back into focus for the thing that you're working on, and we're going to dive into that quite a bit. So going on a street ride, we'll pick that one first, and then we'll drop in some of those other disciplines of riding as well. Say we're going to go on a 3-hour street ride. So we're going to go on a 3-hour street ride, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to be focused. I'm going to have a plan on what my day is going to be. And I do want to have basically a goal for that day. And if my goal is I'm going to work on my eyes the whole day, well, then that's going to be my plan, and that's what I want to be able to work on. And can you work on your eyes for 3 hours? You bet you can. The eyes is one that we can just never not work on. So I'm going to go for a street ride, and my first thought when I ride on the street is everything is trying to kill me. So that's my first thought. The second thing is I need to think about my environment. What bike am I riding? What's the temperature out? What are the roads are going to be? Am I going by the lake where all the boats are? So I got to think about those things, and it pre-frames my day, and it starts to give me an expectation and starts to get my focus going. And as I head out, let's say I'm going to work on my eyes. So I'm going to work on my eyes scanning, and see how that works really well with the number one thing when I street ride, which is everything is trying to kill me. So as I get my eyes moving back and forth, I can see those things and be aware and be in the moment with that. So spending 3 hours working on your eyes, you bet. That's really an easy one. But what's actually harder to do, it's easy to get all jacked up, right? It's easy to say, oh, dude, I'm working on my eyes for 3 hours. That's actually the easy part. the hard part, and the hard part with any of these things that you're going to go try, is to get back, get refocused. So you go for a ride, you leave your house, then you meet your buddies at the coffee shop, and then it's easy to get caught up in their stuff. We've got to get back and get refocused. And what the refocus simply is it's a revisualization of your goal. And how do you do that? You're going to use your eyes. So you get your eyes up and working, and then when you get your eyes up and working, everything else will start coming into play. So that revisualization that refocus is a revisualization of your goal. And when you can get that awareness going, this is massive. This is actually almost a bigger deal than the techniques themselves. It's putting yourself back in the moment. And I'll talk more about that and how it's worked in some of the things that I do. So you can go through the whole list of the fundamentals. Go through the whole list on all your rides. You're going to go ride XR100s with your buddies. You can spend the whole time on your eyes, working them back and forth. You're going to do your street ride. So now you've done your street ride. You're pretty happy with your eyes. Now you can start working on your motor controls. You can spend. I could easily spend a whole day working on how I go to the brakes and how I release the brakes. How subtle does that need to be? I'd work on how long could I carry my brakes through a certain corner just so I can develop that feel. And I'd work on, if everything was clear, I'd work on maybe going to the brakes and building a little bit of brake pressure mid-corner just so you can feel what it's like for the radius to tighten up. So absolutely things to work on. Same thing with the throttle. You can work on how your initial throttle works. Our initial throttle cannot be subtle enough, right? That first 2 to 3 or 4%. And we can work on tightening up our cord when we do that. So you can spend easily a whole ride working on that. Then your bike placement. Again, I could spend a whole day working on that. God, that's all I would work on when I ride an XR100. That's all I work on when I drive an indoor go-kart is essentially my bike placement or my car placement, right? Because what I'm trying to do is get the full throttle on that little go-kart. Same thing on an XR100. So as you do your straight ride, you do your trail ride, it should be, when can I see my exit? When can I take away lean angle? When is my lane clear? Where is my decision point? Absolutely could work on that a whole ride. You can even work on some, again, on the brakes, how long and how long you're using them and how you're adjusting for every radius is. Easy to spend a whole ride on that. Even body position, you can work on having your mass to the inside. No, you're not going to look like a Renzo, but it's just 1 inch, right? Is your head just over enough to put your mass to the inside so there's weight to the inside? Easy one to work on as well. And another one that you can mess with is turn-in rate and turn-in point. Wow, especially on the street, all the different types of corners, you can start messing with how early you're going to turn in, but how slowly. Oh, tighter radius, tighter arc corner, will turn in later and sharper because that's what the radius dictates. You can easily spend a whole day on those. So that's the beauty of the order of the sport. That's the beauty of these fundamentals, is that you could put each one of these into play on a whole day and mess with them. So when you do go to the track, you've shortcutted your learning process with that. So street riding, you bet. Go-karts, you bet. XR100s, you bet. Daily car driving, have you thought about that? Right? You spend all this time in a car doing all this stuff. You work on how you use your eyes in the car. Do you come off on an off-ramp? Do you see, when can you see your exit? Take away lean angle? How long can I use my brakes? Can I tighten up my radius middle of the corner using the brakes? When can I get the full throttle? As long as you don't break the speed limit. So start thinking about those things. Even if you work on them for 5 minutes a day, it'll make a massive difference. And the other one that I want to go back to is the refocus. Because when you have all of this time and you do make all these stops and you're talking with your buddies and you go eat breakfast or have lunch or whatever it is, or you're filling up with gas, it's the refocus that's harder. So that's something that I almost want to see people spend even more time messing with is the refocus. So refocus by revisualization of your goal. How do you do that? You use your eyes. And as soon as you use your eyes, the technique comes into play. So I think that is actually the bigger lesson to all of this is getting the refocus going. I use this in yoga quite a bit, and I'll just give you a quick example with yoga. So with yoga, I'm in yoga and I'm in a pose, and I lose my focus. As soon as I lose my focus, guess what? I lose my balance. And now I'm lost. Crap, right? I'm lost. Well, that I'm lost feeling is really my awareness, right? I'm aware that I'm lost, but how do I get back to it? And I get back to it by, I search for my eyes in the mirror. So I search for my eyes in the mirror. As soon as I search for my eyes, I get my refocus. I revisualize what my goal is. And then I get right back into my focus, right back into my pose. And then I can go back into that hopefully try to find that flow state that we're all desperately trying to work on. So off the bike training, we've got some really great things for you to do that. We'll pick out some of these other things in some of these other podcasts, but for now, we've got this off the bike or on the bike training that's not on the track, and I've given you some great things to work on. Work on one thing of these fundamentals. Work on these order of the sports. Pick a whole ride for these things. And then as that becomes muscle memory, you can start working on some of the others.